Ever flipped through the news and felt like you were watching a rerun? Seems like just yesterday we were talking tariffs, trade wars, and the economic tightrope walk between Canada and the U.S. Well, grab your popcorn 'cause the show's back on, and this time it's got a familiar plot twist. Tariffs on steel and aluminum courtesy of the U.S. It's a bit like that neighbor who keeps borrowing your lawnmower, only to complain about the grass. Clippings. Frustrating, predictable, and kinda leaves you scratching your head. Now, you might be thinking, tariffs? Isn't that some boring economics thing that only affects big corporations? But hold on a sec. Think about the price of your car, the can of pop in your fridge, or even the beams holding up your local hockey arena. Steel and aluminum are everywhere, and when their prices get jacked up, it trickles down to just about everything else. So, yeah, this affects you, me, and everyone else trying to make ends meet in this crazy world. What makes this particular round of tariff tango so interesting, though, isn't just the déjà vu. It's the sheer scale of it. We're talking about a potential wallop to the Canadian economy and a test of the resilience of our trade relationship with our biggest partner. It's like watching two heavyweight boxers in the ring, except one of them's got a much longer reach and the other's got to be quick on their feet to avoid getting knocked out. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about politics, about promises made and promises broken, and about the delicate dance between national interests and international cooperation. It's a reminder that even in a globalized world, borders still matter, and decisions made in Washington can have a very real impact on folks right here in Canada, from the prairies to the Maritimes. So, let's dig a little deeper, eh? Let's unpack this tariff situation, figure out what's really going on, and see what it all means for Canada, for our relationship with the U.S., and for your wallet. It's a story with twists and turns, with winners and losers, and with a whole lot of uncertainty. But hey, that's life in the 21st century, isn't it? Let's get to it. Now, to get a real handle on this tariff kerfuffle, we gotta rewind a bit, back to when these duties first reared their heads. Remember back in 2018, when the U.S., under a different administration, slapped tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, citing national security concerns. It was a real shot across the bow, especially since Canada's been a steadfast ally, standing shoulder to shoulder with the U.S. through thick and thin, from peacekeeping missions to navigating the complexities of NORAD. Folks were understandably miffed, feeling like they'd been given the cold shoulder by a longtime friend. Back then, the justification was Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, a piece of legislation that allows the U.S. president to impose trade restrictions if imports are deemed a threat to national security. It was a bit of a head-scratcher, to be honest, given that Canadian steel and aluminum aren't exactly weapons of mass destruction. More like building blocks of everyday life, eh? The whole thing felt like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. The Canadian government, of course, didn't take this lying down. They retaliated with their own tariffs on a range of American goods, from ketchup to washing machines. It was a tit-for-tat situation, a trade standoff that left businesses on both sides of the border feeling the pinch. It wasn't just the big steel companies that were affected, mind you. Small businesses, manufacturers, and even consumers felt the squeeze as prices went up and trade became more uncertain. Eventually, those tariffs were lifted in 2019, replaced with a new trade agreement, the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA, or as some folks still call it, the new NAFTA. There was a collective sigh of relief, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, we could put this trade drama behind us and get back to building a strong, mutually beneficial relationship. But, as we're now seeing, history has a funny way of repeating itself. It's worth remembering, too, that these trade spats aren't just about economics. They're about politics, about posturing, and about sending signals to both domestic and international audiences. They're also about leverage, each country trying to gain an advantage in future negotiations. It's a complex game of chess, played out on the world stage with real-world consequences for ordinary folks. Take, for example, the auto industry. It's heavily integrated on both sides of the border, with parts and finished vehicles crossing the line multiple times during the manufacturing process. Tariffs can throw a wrench into these supply chains, making it more expensive and time-consuming to produce cars and trucks. And who ultimately pays the price? You guessed it, the consumer. Reflecting. On this journey so far, eh? It's like we've been paddling a canoe through some pretty choppy waters, navigating the twists and turns of trade relationships, political posturing, and the ever-present economic undercurrents. We've seen how decisions made in faraway places can ripple outwards, affecting folks right here at home, from the price of a Tim Hortons double-double to the future of our manufacturing sector. It's all connected, like a vast, intricate web, where tugging on one thread can send vibrations throughout the entire structure. And what's become clear, like a crisp autumn morning after a long night of fog, is that these trade disputes aren't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. They're about people. They're about the families who rely on good-paying jobs in the steel and aluminum industries, the small business owners who depend on cross-border trade, and the consumers who ultimately foot the bill when prices go up. It's easy to get lost in the abstract world of tariffs and trade agreements, but at the end of the day, it's real people who feel the impact. Think of it like this. Imagine a hockey game, where the players are the countries, the puck is the economy, and the referees are the international trade organizations. Sometimes the game gets a little rough, with elbows thrown and penalties called. But the goal, ideally, is to keep the game fair and competitive, so that everyone has a chance to win. When one player starts changing the rules, or starts playing dirty, it throws the whole game off balance. So, where does that leave us, eh? Well, it's like standing at a crossroads with different paths stretching out before us. One path leads to more protectionism, more tariffs, and potentially a trade war that could hurt everyone involved. Another path leads to greater cooperation, more dialogue, and a renewed commitment to fair and open trade. The choice, as they say, is ours, but it's not just up to governments and policymakers to decide. It's up to all of us to stay informed, to engage in the conversation, and to demand that our leaders make decisions that are in the best interests of all Canadians. After all, we're all in this canoe together, and we need to paddle in the same direction if we want to reach our destination. It's like a barn raising, eh? Everyone needs to pitch in to get the job done, and that's what makes Canada so great. Our ability to come together, to work hard, and to build a better future for ourselves and for generations to come. As we pivot towards the final reflection, it's important to remember that the story of trade is never truly over. It's an ongoing saga, with new chapters being written every day. And just like a good Canadian novel, it's full of surprises, challenges, and moments of both triumph and disappointment. But through it all, we got to keep our heads up, stay resilient, and never lose sight of the values that make us who we are. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters, eh? So where does all this leave us, eh? It's like standing on the dock at the end of a long summer day, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. You've spent the day out on the lake, navigating the currents, dodging the rocks, and maybe catching a few fish along the way. Now, as you head back to shore, you can't help but reflect on the journey, the challenges you faced, and the lessons you learned. This tariff tango, this back and forth between Canada and the U.S., it's more than just a blip on the economic radar. It's a reminder that even in a world that's shrinking by the day, borders still matter, and relationships need constant tendon, like a garden in the prairies. You can't just plant the seeds and walk away, expecting everything to grow on its own. You gotta water it, weed it, and protect it from the frost. And that's the thing about this whole situation, isn't it? It's not just about the steel and aluminum, it's about the relationship. It's about trust, about fairness, and about treating each other with respect. Canada and the U.S., we're like neighbors who share a property line. We might have our disagreements from time to time, but at the end of the day, we gotta find a way to get along, to work together, and to build a community. that benefits everyone. What's truly at stake here isn't just the price of a can of beans or a new pickup truck. It's the very fabric of our economic and social connection with our closest ally. It's a test of our resilience, our ingenuity, and our ability to navigate choppy waters with grace and determination. We've weathered storms before, and we'll weather this one too. But it's going to take more than just tough talk and retaliatory tariffs. It's going to take a willingness to listen, to compromise, and to find common ground. So, as we wrap things up here, let's not forget the human element in all of this. Let's remember the families who depend on good-paying jobs, the small businesses that are the backbone of our communities, and the consumers who are just trying to make ends meet. Let's demand that our leaders make decisions that are in the best interests of all Canadians, and that they do so with fairness, transparency, and a deep respect for the values that make us who we are. The true practice, as they say, begins now. Let's get to it, eh?